If you get an assignment and you're working on something and the client calls and wants to know what the status is, you probably haven't done the right thing, which is get back to them before they get back to you. I think that's the number one thing. Return phone calls. It's really common sense stuff.
Well, welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. Today we're continuing our Owner, Operator, Partner series. And Harold, it is great to have you with us. If you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to our audience and give us a little background on how you came to be here today.
Great. Thank you. And please call me Hal.
Hal, sure.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, so I am the managing partner at a Cleveland-based law firm known as Kavich, Familo, and Durkin. I have been in basically the Ohio area my entire life. Grew up in Mansfield, Ohio, went to college at Baldwin Wallace University, which is in a suburb of Cleveland, law school at Cleveland State. Directly out of law school, I joined this firm and been with this firm for, it'll be 40 years next May.
Holy smokes. Congratulations. That's amazing.
That's pretty wild, but it's a great place and it's been a good run. So I'm very pleased.
Well, I have to ask, you've got 40 years at the same firm. What has kept you there? Like, what's created this amount of loyalty? And how have you been able to rise up through the ranks over the last few decades?
So we call ourselves a lifestyle firm, which means, we don't expect people to work till midnight every night and or to miss family events and that sort of thing. My wife also was a extremely hard worker, had a super career on her own. And so she had to be someplace in the morning. I could be a little late here or vice versa. So it's not a sweatshop. We expect people to have lives outside of the practice of law and, have good balance. So for me, it was a perfect fit.
And how were you able to increase your influence and be able to rise up to the managing partner status?
Well, I think part of it is if you're around long enough, you trip into things, right? So, but I've always been, I won't say aggressive, but a little outgoing and, tried to exercise leadership, when it was appropriate and started out, on the management team after I became a partner, probably 5, 6, 7 years after I became a partner. And I was on the management team for a long period of time. We had a managing partner who was super managing partner. So we both served on the board. And then when he decided to step back a little bit, I jumped in. So it's almost by osmosis. You don't really know how it happens. It just happens. So.
What do you tell young associates that join your firm on the secret to leveling up and advancing your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret from my perspective. I mean, I think it's just work hard, do the right things. If you do the right thing, you'll never be wrong. I always tell the young associates that the partners are your clients, and you should operate accordingly. And if you get an assignment from somebody, you should get that assignment back to them before they ask about it. And I'd say the same is true with attorneys and their actual clients. If you get an assignment and you're working on something and the client calls and wants to know what the status is, you probably haven't done the right thing, which is get back to them before they get back to you. So I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah,
return phone calls. It's really common sense stuff.
How has the firm evolved over the last 40 years?
So we haven't evolved as much as maybe a lot of firms. We've been a mid-sized firm for probably the last 50 or 60 years, really focusing on closely held businesses and individuals. It's a different place, I think, in large part because of your perspective. Because you start out as an associate and you've got all these great mentors around, like George Durkin, Zal Kavich, Ed Familo, our named partners. And then, they retire and go on to better things or greener pastures. And now you look around and you're kind of the old guy. So, the firm, I guess, changes from that perspective just because you've changed so much throughout your career. Things like technology have made the practice of law, including our firm, I think a little more difficult. Because, in the old days, when I started, when you actually redlined a document, you did it with a red magic marker and sent it, via U.S. ordinary mail back to or a messenger if it was somebody in town. Now it's split seconds. So you're redlining electronically. Clients' expectations are so much more that you're going to get back to them faster because that's what everybody's used to these days. So it's a little, just from my perspective, a little more. There's a little more pressure these days on getting back to clients and making sure that matters move along. I also think that for the younger lawyers, I would stress stay on top of technology. That's really transforming our practice. We're sitting in a library that is basically a dinosaur. We used to refer to these books all the time. In fact, some of the books behind us, we actually have a relationship with Matthew Bender, where we edit their manuscripts and sometimes write new content for them. That all used to be in the book, and now it's on a thumb drive. So it's challenging to stay on top of what's going on in our marketplace for sure.
And it's got to be. That's so funny. The time it must have taken to redline a document and send it and do all the things, like days, right? Compared to seconds.
Well, yeah, it would take days to sort of get it out to the opposing party and get comments back, just because of how. But I mean, it was also I feel like now if you mail something, it's 15 days before somebody gets it, and in those days they'd get it in 2 or 3 days, and a lot of FedEx around, it's kind of an infancy then as well. So started using those tools, and of course the fax machine. So.
How your practice is multidisciplinary. Has it always been that way? And if so, did you get the opportunity to work across a number of different practice areas, or did you always focus on a single one?
Yeah, so my experience is that when I started with the firm, they would put you in a rotation. So I would do business law for, call it 6 months, and then I would be involved in the litigation practice for 6 months. From my perspective, after I got through the rotation, I was always sort of interested in real estate. And so I started working with the real estate lawyers. It's one of those things where you like what you're doing, so you'd probably do a better job. They like you because you like what you're doing. And so I kind of grew up as a real estate lawyer for the first probably 10 or 15 years of my career. Very involved in the real estate sections of the Cleveland Bar, which I would encourage any young lawyer to make sure that they're involved in these, their local bar, meeting their peers, seeing how they operate, tapping into their expertise. But I was an accounting undergrad, and so I always had pretty decent business, background. And as I started to get clients on my own, it sort of just spread out to helping them not only with real estate transactions, but other parts of their business. And so from that, I sort of, became a business lawyer, doing probably half real estate now and half just business transactions, M&A, and those sorts of things. And, the accounting has certainly helped out on that. I would also tell young lawyers, and I tell them when we interview them, or a lot of times we get calls from kids that are in college, what should I do to prepare? I would say that if somebody's really serious about the practice of law, I would advise any sort of business. Accounting is great, economics, because no matter what your practice is, it always revolves around money. You could be a criminal lawyer, but you still have a lease and other things that are happening, and you have to understand the practice. The other thing I would encourage is, believe it or not, would be an English major, because most of what we do is involves written communication. Now,
word doctors.
Pardon me?
Word doctors.
Yeah, exactly. And most of it's via email now, but it is important. It is, especially if you're getting into family law and there a lot of court appearances. You've got to be able to communicate in writing what you're trying to get across. So, absolutely.
Hal, I really appreciate your time today. As we kind of finish up here, tell us a little bit about the future of your firm. You guys have been around for a long time, done some amazing things. How are you ensuring that the firm, sticks around for another 40 years?
Yeah, so we have a very strong legacy client base. They've been with us a lot of them have been with us for generations. We spend a tremendous amount of time and resources on associates. So we have a monthly associate meeting. We provide during the course of those meetings, in part, a professional type experience where we're educating them on the law and different things that they might come across. And frankly, the other part of that is business development. We focus on trying to give them the skills so that they can go out and get their own clients. I always tell the young lawyers here, if you don't have a client base, unless you're with a mega firm, but if you don't, if you're with us or another medium-sized firm, if you don't have clients, then you're essentially an employee. You're at the whim of the people that basically have the clients and pass out the work. So we focus in those respects with our associates. We also give them a budget to spend on professional development as well as networking type things. So we feel pretty strong that they're the future, and we want to make sure that they're successful so that the firm continues. So
I love it.
That's what we do.
Hal, I really appreciate your time today. Amazing story. The fact that you never hear about people sticking around and being at the same place for 40 years. So I'm always very impressed by that stat. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.